Hey everybody, this is Grace, and I've been thinking lately, well, since yesterday, about this. I mean, I mean, I don't like it when people say I mean and they haven't said anything yet, but this is about so much going on in the world today that I can imagine it triggering people, um, triggering especially people who grew up in a dysfunctional family where, as a child they didn't have any control over what was going on. And, people that have suffered from narcissistic abuse, when things just happen out of the blue, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It just, or they didn't have any knowledge of why it led up to it. As a child, you have a parent that comes home from work and takes it out on the child. Something bad had happened at work. The child doesn't know this, and the child shouldn't be the one to have to take, the brunt of the anger of the parent at anybody, at ever. So I can imagine what's going on. Everything. I mean, who would have predicted? Well, some people did. The pandemic. I mean, there's just one after another after another. I had made a video back in November, and I had published it like 2 weeks ago. Today's January 14th. And I basically said there's just been too much drama. So much drama. And I am one to watch the news, keep up with what's going on. So I'm aware of what's going on. But still, there were so many things that we just could not predict. I mean, just, really. So I can imagine it triggering a lot of people. It triggers me. Okay, to just feel that, that there's this lack of, this could be, this feeling of no security. Okay, and when you're a child and you don't live in a secure environment, you don't live in an environment where you could feel security and safety, because you never know what that parent or parents or grandparents or siblings and or, so on and so forth, what they could do at any moment, because you've experienced it before, and you're aware of, that it just could, out of the blue, something you never would have thought of, like I said earlier. Okay, and I was thinking that this morning, but last night I was thinking about how this is a time when those of us who, are like, I would say, let's say those of us who are younger baby boomers and the Generation X, okay. Those of us, we never really had an opportunity to, or we never, not never, but many of us, I'm getting in this habit of saying never and stuff. I'm not that type of thinker. But we really haven't had much of a opportunity to be mature. Some of us. Now remember, I'm going to just say some of us. Because there were so many baby boomers and, older baby boomers. And it's not their fault. Okay? Let's put this out there right off the bat. It's not their fault that they were born. All right? Some people will just immediately blame the older baby boomers. No. Okay, it's not their fault they were born, but they did take up, and those older did take up those positions of authority, of the positions of, being, in management. And so many different reasons, so many different things. And that was not a fault of theirs. That's just what they went into. Okay, then there were all of us younger ones, the younger baby boomers, and like I said, the Gen X, and may not have had that opportunity to get into those types of positions and to have to make, big decisions and be mature. I mean, how many years has it been now that people have been saying things like the 50s are the new 40s? And I remember one person said when he turned 50, he said 50 is the new 35. And I thought, that's not far off mark. I mean, it does kind of seem like that. And Not that far off the mark. But now, with everything going on, I really do think that we have had to mature up. Some people would say grow up, but isn't that kind of, that's something we hadn't heard it from our childhood. Oh, grow up. No, we've had to mature. Because there are these, younger people who, we've not experienced this. None of us have experienced this, but we are older and we've been through more things. And we should be that example for these younger people. And when they need somebody to comfort us, to comfort them, we should be there to comfort them. We should be there to try to help them to understand. Seriously. Okay, and more of what I was thinking about also along this line is maybe we didn't have enough guidance, a personalized guidance, as growing up as children, being given, some of us, not all, like I said, and it's not all in any of this, but some of us didn't have, somebody who was, how do I put it? Giving us little guidelines in life. Like I mentioned in a video, I don't know if I ever made it public, about that we need to really see our worth and stop wanting to be something we're not. Okay, let me correct that. Let me elaborate on that. Whatever you are, be proud of it. Whatever you've done to achieve something, that should give you confidence. You've done what you needed to do to be whatever it is. And that gives you confidence. It's there. It's going to be there. But to try to be something you're not and pretend that you are, that could erode it. Because others will see you and see what you're doing, and it becomes essentially a failure. And we need to teach younger people this. Be proud of what you do and who you are, and that you did what you needed to do to achieve it. Just like I said about us. We need to teach them that. Pride is something, I think any of us who are Christian, we've always heard about, pride being a bad thing, basically. But I'm talking about not that kind of pride, not to go around being so proud and just telling everybody. It'd be a narcissistic kind of way. But not to be ashamed of what we are. If it's something good, if there's something to be ashamed of, well, okay, that's a different story. But you know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about those. And there's no, if you can't be everything, there's no problem with it. You can only be what you can be, and what you strive for, and what you work toward, and do it in a way that is appropriate. Okay, if you want to call yourself a chef, become one. Do what is needed to be called chef. Not just say you are, but be it. Do what's needed. And there were a lot of things I was thinking about. We need to be this guide, to be guiding them. And we need to have in us the right things to be able to. Our minds are right. Our minds are set in a way, not set. I think many of us grew up hearing, they're set in their ways. No, our minds are on target. They're not in this way out in the sky in the world, just all out there. I think that's an expression many of us would know. Way out there. But we're in touch with reality. And this reality these days sucks. See, I'm using those expressions even though I said we really move past it and mature up. It does, though. I think many people have heard in their lives, like, for example, when you have young children and there's something that happens, you guard your children, you protect your children. It doesn't stop just because they turn 18 or 28 or 38. You see? I mean, it goes on. But have we done this enough? Have we taken over that? Or are we still following our parents? Our parents, if they're still alive. Seeing, or somebody that's older, the older baby boomers, as being still our parents. No. We're all adults now. We're all mature adults. I have been saying that, I think, since my 30s, because I saw that trend. I think I was around 37 when it really just dawned on me how some people will treat you as though you're still a child. And that's infantilization. They treat you as though you're a child when you're a mature adult. And we need to move past that. We need to, step up to the plate, these expressions, to really get to this point where we're examples for other people. Not bad examples, but good examples. And know the difference. What would be a bad example? And then there's more. Okay, and I think another one I was thinking about last night was, we need to, many of us, not all, need to understand that there are exceptions to every rule. Not everybody should be doing XYZ. Sometimes that could be really bad for many. But there are exceptions to all kinds of rules. There is a a fallacy. And I was going to get to these fallacies, and I need to see. But there is a fallacy, and I saw it in, remember I mentioned this about having printed out a whole bunch of things back in, over many years, and sometimes in the 2000s, from Wikipedia. And Wikipedia has really changed a lot over the years. It's so much improved. Well, one of them was about fallacies, and I printed them out again recently, because the ones I did before was from 2016, and there were some changes. But one of them really, it was in the first one, and I haven't found it in the second one, the current one. But let me get to that. Okay, and it's called anecdotal fallacy. And this was from Wikipedia on, I printed it on June 27, 2016. And like I said, it was in this one, but I haven't found it in the other one. I haven't read it either, though. But basically it says, using a personal experience or an isolated example instead of sound reasoning or compelling evidence. Okay, and to me, in just one, that means exceptions to rules. We may have had experiences that other people generally don't experience. But because we experience it, it doesn't make it the rule. And some people do think that way. They don't think in terms, we might be an exception. I'm an exception. I'm an exception to a big rule. Because of my childhood, I truly believe this is the thing. I have an adrenal disorder that is basically one of a kind. Now, other people have similar adrenal disorders. It's very similar to other ones, at least one. But mine is I still question this, and believe me, I have questioned it a lot. But they put it as an anomaly on the adrenal gland. Now, I thought we had two adrenal glands, but I've got the printout myself from the year 2000. Okay. And I've had endocrinologists and so forth explain it to me, and it is one of a kind. So am I the rule? No. I'm the exception to the rule. Okay. I am an exception to a rule. But I have noticed too much, especially more and more, I should say, not especially lately, but just more and more, that some think in those terms that the exception is the rule. And we need to understand that. In my opinion, we need to, those of us in my group, like I said, my cohort, to understand it, to be able to give that kind of knowledge to younger people. To say just because you experience it doesn't make it the rule. Okay. And these are things that maybe many of us, like I said, especially if you grew up in a dysfunctional family, we're never taught these little things. I mean, these little things can be big things. And there was nobody there, and maybe still not to this day there to say, okay, just because you experience it, that doesn't mean that everybody else has. Yeah. And there are other ones. The two of them I had, I had highlighted, I guess I should say, for myself, whenever, back then maybe. It was appeal to probability. Okay, I don't have my readers on. Is a statement that takes something for granted because it would probably be the case, or might be the case. Okay. That definitely is not 100%. But some of these things, like, to get a list of the fallacies, do what you want to do, but yeah, and read them and question yourself. Have you taught somebody that? Not somebody who's going to really, go like into, what do they call them, narcissistic injury, then a narcissistic rage, because how dare you tell them something? I've seen plenty of those people, believe me. But like your child or your grandchild, or, well, you might want to get permission from the parents, but just to, you see what I'm saying? Just to help other people in life, especially this age around here now. Many of us actually would be going through that. Then we need to give back to the world. Basically give back to our community, our society, our people within it. Give back. But what were we ever taught? What were we ever given? So we would know what to do to give back, or how to give back. And with so much had changed since we were young. I mean, I didn't have internet when I was a child. Okay? How do we? And basically, it's how do we help to raise the world? To raise the children, the younger people, and even older people when it comes down to it. And not do it as a know-it-all. To know what we know and what we don't know. Okay, sorry being Socratic, but to be aware of what we are capable of, what we really understand. Not just making up BS and try to act like an expert on it, but be what we know. As an example, not example, but a voice of authority on what we really do know. I don't know. This is my trigger. This has triggered me, and this is the way I respond to those. The trigger is to, here lately, is to do videos, but to talk about it. There's so much more, really. There's just so much more I want to talk about. And I haven't been making videos. In fact, I don't think I've been making many videos at all since really sometime back in October. I've made some here and there. At one point, I think it may have, I don't remember when it was, I had seen, I counted them. I had 51 that I had uploaded, various channels, I had more than one. 51 videos and I had not made them public. But there was just so much going on, and plus, you know, my Wi-Fi issues. But, you know, there was so much going on, and, yeah. I just didn't have time, and lately I haven't had time because I am watching and seeing what's going on in this world, in our world, in our, you know, those of us who live in the United States, what's going on. And like I said, I can see how it triggers. It can trigger people. So be a little more understanding of people if they're not acting like they usually do, or they seem stressed out. I mean, maybe you won't even know how to recognize somebody being stressed out. Okay. But they're just not acting the same. Don't be harsh on them. You know, unless they're about to kill themselves or kill somebody, or, I mean, I don't mean that way. Like accidentally, some accident happened, and they're not paying attention when they're driving, that kind of thing. I don't mean any other way. But yeah, you know, to be aware, really, to be more aware of what others are going through. I think that's so important these days. Be aware of what the people in your environment, in your social circle, in your home, in your whatever, what they're going through too. Not just focus so much on you. I'm not saying you do that. I'm not saying everybody does that. I'm not saying most do that. I don't know how many do that. But I can see that some do it. Especially now while being triggered. If they are. Okay. Anyway, enough of this for now. I'll talk to you in another video.